Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Trimco number 1102S. This is a door pull, is what this is, in the 613 finish, listed right there. 613 is always a troublesome finish. I personally love it, but what I don't love is the fact that it's what we call a living finish. So this 613, from the next 613 to the first 613, it's always going to be a little different. And this is indeed an example of how 613 is different from each other. It is certainly a 613 finish from a manufacturer who has been finishing hardware for decades and decades. I don't know when Trimco got their start. My guess is for sure the mid-20th century, if not earlier. I don't have any old catalogs, I don't think, like decades old, so I don't really know their absolute history. It might be in their catalog, and I've just simply forgotten. But the 1102 is a very common shape pole, okay? It's a utility-style pole. It's not real fancy. It's not real special or unique. Doesn't do much anything perfect except that it's straightforward, it's simple. You grab on it, and it works. Where you would apply this would be to a variety of different applications where you're going to pull a door open. You don't see these installed in applications where something decorative is what's called for, like a public library or a restaurant. But if you have a workshop and you need a very robust door pull and it's going to work, countless millions of cycles, this is certainly going to meet that criteria. It's also not exceptionally expensive either. It's a utility pull. Utility in the sense of the word that it's generic, it's ubiquitous, it is middle of the road, and it's meant to do the job of what you're doing. It's the family cruiser, so to speak, of the auto industry. Now, the S in the part number means that it is surface mounted, which means these mounting roses are going to have holes drilled and countersunk in them. Not that they're drilled and countersunk, although they may be. I don't know if that's part of the casting when this was done. I don't know if it's cast that way. I would think that it's not. So it might be an after. I'm sure that they're doing an after casting process on this. But this oil rub bronze is admittedly a bit lighter and a bit closer to US 10A, like an oxidized antique bronze sort of color. Okay, and this pole is a great example of the fact that small amount of residue on my fingers, which I would expect there would be with oil rubbed. It's an example that oil rubbed is a non-stable finish, meaning it's not only non-stable in the sense that what it looks like the day you put it on and 2 years from now and every day in between is not stable. It evolves. It's also a finish that is subject to not matching any other oil rub bronze from any other manufacturer. There's a formula, there's some chemistry that's happening. Everything impacts the net result of what US 10B or 613 looks like when it's done. Even the elevation of the factory at which it's being done will change what it looks like. The environment is what I'm driving at. So when you're ordering oil rub bronze, be mindful. There is no such standard as oil rub bronze in terms of that's what we're matching, like there would be for polished brass or satin chrome or brushed stainless. And I'm saying all of this because this is, I'm going to go with oil rubbed, but if I was a betting man, I would say that this was closer to US 10A rather than US 10B. Okay. This is going to include fasteners for getting it attached down to the door that you're putting it on, a total of 6, and a complementary finish. Some standard dimensions. They say that it's 7.5-inch overall height, closer to 7 5/16. Center to center would be about 5.5-inch if this was installed on centers, and it could be. You could have a unit like this that would be through bolted, although I don't know if Trimco does one because there's not a lot of material there to run a bolt into. They may be able to do that, but I would not be surprised if they didn't. When we get to the catalog, we'll take a look. Projection, they have this at 2 3/16. A little shy on that, I might say, with a clearance of closer to 1.5 inches. I'd say it'd be a little heavy on that. Maybe 1 5/8. Okay. Don't recall if I gave you the diameter of the rose or not. Let's do it again. About 1 13/16, 1 7/8. Let's switch to the screen view where we can take a closer look at some supporting documentation. Okay, so here is indeed the item that we are looking at. The 1102S in a 613 finish. First of all, what are the other finishes that they can do? Let's take a look. 1102S, Trimco. Okay, so polished brass without lacquer, which is a $4.99. 605 polished brass, 606 satin brass, 609 antique brass, 610 is a blackened satin brass, a bright version of that. 611 is polished bronze. 612 satin bronze, 613 are oil rug bronze, 616 blackened satin bronze. What's the difference between that and 610 blackened satin brass relieved? Okay, right. Blackened satin bronze. Blackened satin bronze. I'm tempted to say that this pull is closer to 616 that we have. 619 is satin nickel. 620 is antique nickel. 622 is the good old black. 625 is polished chrome. 626 satin chrome. 628 is aluminum. So the base material will be aluminum in a clear anodized finish. Let's see if they do just an 1102. Okay, so yeah, I don't see an 1102S, a through-bolted version, but let's take a closer look. So back to the item we're talking about. Here are those dimensional properties. Dark oxidized oil-rubbed satin bronze. Complies with ADA specifications. Their catalog may say that, but there's really no, that I'm aware of, defined standard when it comes to clearance. And I understand that an industry accepted dimension is 2.5 inch and not 1.5 inch. Now, product catalog template. Let's take a look at all these links. Product catalog is first. This is going to allow us to look at the 1102S. The 1102T is the number I was looking for a through-bolted version. You won't see any holes, and you'll have a stove bolt or a machine bolt that will go through the door. Other pulls that are immediately listed on the same page out of the catalog are here. Suffice it to say that there are several and many different pull handles available from Trimco, which we'll get to. The template, this should just be a technical drawing, and indeed it is. This document hasn't been changed in 25 years. That shows you how often it changes. It doesn't, is the answer. That's the T version as well, the through-bolt version. Policy regarding available finishes. This is just more of a generic listing of Trimco's available finishes. Because they're Trimco, I've had them do non-standard finishes as well, especially some powder coating. And they are mostly, for the most part, agreeable to it. I mean, they're a manufacturer who can do lots of finishes. And in the world that we live in now in 2020 with this renaissance of available finishes, don't be afraid to ask. If you're looking for this powder coated in black or some other finish, I'm trying to think of one that they don't have listed here, and I'm struggling with that. You know, as I'm looking through here, I don't see any finish that they're missing. You know, maybe a powder coated would be the only thing I'm coming up with on that, because powder coated black is, you know, they have 622, which is here satin black, but a powder coat is a nice finish to put on something because of how durable powder coating is. So really great options when it comes to finishes from Trimco, and I'm not surprised that they have so many finishes available. They've been in the business a very long time. Product maintenance, this is going to be a generic document from the manufacturer regarding how to handle their finishes. This is a handing chart. Doesn't apply really so much to this, but if you and I are talking about handing, this is the definition by which I would be speaking about handing of doors. There's a link here to the manufacturer's page, and that will allow you to review not only all of the Trimco products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. A new thing about Trimco, relatively new thing, is that they've really expanded their offering of ladder pulls, as you can see here. The ladder pulls have been pretty popular since probably the late 90s, is what I think. based on just my memory, and they continue to be quite popular, selling them all the time, it seems. So you might want to take a dive into what Trimco is doing in terms of these ladder poles. Edge poles here as well. They do have their original, I think they called them their Mastercraft series of poles. Castings really is what it is. Their full line catalog will have it here. And I believe it was relatively in the beginning of that catalog. Here we go. Scrolling right past it. These poles go back, some of them go back quite some time. And they have, unfortunately, had to discontinue some of them because they're just not popular as they were in the 1970s. But I have done poles with Trimco where they've done, as I had mentioned earlier, some custom powder coating. Don't think it was the 35, although it was something like it. Actually, it was not. It was something like that. This 2014 product catalog shows some of their older, well, by today's standard, older material. And what I'd called them, I believe the pole that I did with them was actually discontinued. But they still had a couple of the castings remaining, and it was actually the Juno pole is what it was. There are a couple of mounting posts underneath this, 18.5-inch tall, that they were able to powder coat to match the rest of the hardware. I like to keep these old catalogs because I like to be able to know what a client is working on when he's got something that's 50 years old. Anyway, let's wrap up this video on camera. So this is most certainly a decent quality product from Trimco. Generally, I was about to say, the finish that I like most from Trimco is just good old 605. Polished brass in a solid brass and a polished finish. The reason is because what they're making here for you is finished hardware. It is material that is ordered on demand, made per order, and has, when you get the material from Trimco, it literally gives you the impression that it's handmade. Every time that I get brass and get the packaging off, you can still smell the polish that they were using to finish that off before a lacquer would go on. Great detail with Trimco. You really do get the sense that, again, it's handcrafted material. You know, the casting is the casting. They're bringing that in from wherever is casting it. But the rest of it is, you know, whatever this alloy of copper and zinc, I think, is what brass is. Don't quote me, I don't remember. Whatever the standard alloy is for commercial builders hardware, after they get the casting, the rest is on them, and that's where the skill and talent of the company itself really is allowed to showcase. Much of what Trimco does is made to order, so be sure to plan ahead. They are a manufacturer. They're not a retail position where they've got shelves full of this material. It's made to order. This pull handle took some time to come in, measured in weeks. So be mindful to plan ahead. I can tell you that their material is always well worth the wait. So if you have any questions on the Trimco 1102 in a 613 finish or any other Trimco product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. If you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please click subscribe as well, and even share the video with someone that you know. And if you have any questions for a future video, please send them our way and we will make every attempt to oblige. And thank you very much.